This is an experiment. And this is I don't know what this podcast will be called, if it's actually going to become a podcast, if we're ever going to release this conversation. All that stuff is to be decided. But I think one thing I wanted to do, to figure out a way to do, is to kind of tell the stories of people in the community and to try to help understand the motivations and perspectives, and even share like why they do what they do and what they might want to do. What they think needs to be done, what they're worried about, what they're excited by, and all this kind of stuff. And top of my list was the great Matteo, who needs no introduction. So maybe you do to some people, but I don't think you do. But obviously you've done so much for the community, and I think in that thread I posted the other day, there was so much stuff there. So first of all, thank you very much for all that. And, do you have anything? Do you want to introduce yourself, or do you have any? A little bit about.
So I'm an open source advocate, and I don't think that I don't find anything that is in this field, in AI and machine learning, anything that is closed. It doesn't really trigger any interest in me, even if it is something really cool like Suno or like I don't know the Magnifics upscaler or whatever. Yeah, I keep myself informed, but I'm really not interested. I really think that to evolve and to have nice things in this field, we really need to be open.
And obviously, you were doing this stuff for I don't know how long, probably a long time, without even accepting donations. But out of curiosity, when you were getting up in the morning, especially when you were like facing something really difficult that you were working on, that you knew was going to be a struggle of a day. Related to something that you're earning money from and earning nothing from, what was basically like, were you rational? Was that just like an emotional thing for you? You were just drawn to do it, or what was going on in your mind basically when you're kind of like making nothing for this, putting so much into it? Like where?
Oh, well, it always starts with passion, pure love for coding and tinkering. Yeah, it started as a hobby, and I like to understand how things actually work in background. So I started studying the ComfyUI code and diffusers, and I find it extremely fascinating how the technology works. Like I said, if I find something interesting that I think it's worth sharing, I feel compelled to divulge that information. It's when I get contacted by companies, they often ask me why do I release this stuff for free? Why don't I keep it for myself and build a service? That is the first thing that I'm asked by companies, because that is their state of mind. If you have a skill, you have to monetize it. Unfortunately, that is not how my brain works. And if I find something cool that I think that could be useful, I think that it is my duty to share it.
And do you think you're naive, out of curiosity? I'm not saying you are, but do you ever think that? You're obviously not like 16 years old. You've obviously been around a little bit longer. So I don't think it's like it's a philosophical more than or is it naivety basically?
No, it's or emotional. I really don't care. If I am, it is just how I am. I don't have an entrepreneur mind, and what I do it out of passion, and I do not I do not love money. To make money, you need to love money. I don't have that kind of pull. It's not that I don't need money, but it is not my main mission. And again, if you discover something cool I am not particularly skilled, or I am not an engineer. I'm not Comfy Anonymous. He is a monster, and I am really a newbie in this field.
I don't know if you read through the Twitter thread I had, but I was looking through it. There was like you were like the most mentioned person, obviously, because Cubiq had a really big role in it as well. But you were mentioning it so much I had to actually move the order of things around a little bit, just so it wasn't like then Matteo did this. It was like there was obviously you were a huge in terms of what's happened at Matteo. You were like a huge role in that. I think it probably would have been in a slightly depressing state, like for example, if we hadn't had a lot of the stuff that IP adapter and everything has basically allowed. Do you think you've obviously been earning a living at the same time? You're not like living in the streets. You probably could be making more money elsewhere, but you're not going hungry. But like what? Maybe this is too much of a ask-kissing question. But like, why do you think you're so productive in terms of like actually making useful things? What do you think? Is it just because you
I think that. An understanding of how the technology works and the will and the willpower to actually make educational videos and not and not just entertainment. If I wouldn't do YouTube videos, I would be nobody.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't be able to afford to release so much code for free, because thanks to the sponsors, I am able to dedicate more time to coding. It's a very difficult balance. Like you said, if I worked for a company, I would do probably 5 times what I'm doing now. But I think that I don't think there are many developers that are also willing to spend time making easy to access videos or tutorials in general.
Yeah.
And again, I do not consider myself a YouTuber. For me, YouTube is free hosting. I really don't follow the algorithm. I have no idea how many followers I have, and I don't do clickbaits. I don't put my face on the thumbnail and all that kind of stuff. I release what I do weekly, and what I think is important. That usually it is not the latest news, because so many papers, so many technologies come out every day, and 99% of those are forgotten after 1 week. And so I really don't want to waste time on that.
Do you think the fact that you actually make the YouTube videos makes you more connected to the ultimate purpose of what you're doing? Because I know in your videos you're obviously making stuff and you're kind of actually showing it. I think that, I don't know, I was wondering if basically how you think through it, you're kind of like, in a way, part of your product is or your product is that, having a video where you're explaining something. I wonder if that's like working in the back of your mind when you're doing stuff, and that makes you want to actually do stuff that's going to, result in, being a good demo, basically.
I'll be completely honest. I do not love making YouTube videos. Developing a cool application, implementing a new cool model, it is completely useless if you do not teach how to use it. And so I understand the importance of the YouTube videos and education in general. But if I could, I would make far less videos than what I'm doing now. Yeah. The problem again is that if you are not on YouTube, you are nobody. And I really like spending time coding and understanding the new technologies and so on. So for me, YouTube is a way, is the price that I have. Making YouTube videos is the price that I have to pay to be able to do what I like.
Interesting. And in terms of like, obviously what you're doing, you're obviously like, this, in the whole like ecosystem, you're obviously doing, I guess you're kind of like focused on like the whole infrastructure and education part. And I'm curious, like in the actual like artistic stuff, have you made any, like you obviously make stuff, have you made many like, or any like other than the stuff you make in your videos, like artistic projects that use the stuff, or if you're just that you just don't spend too much time in that, or I'd be curious if you have any thoughts on that.
At the beginning, I was doing that a lot more than I'm doing now. I mean, if I needed to code something, it was because I needed the code to make an image. So I was missing a node, or I was missing some code. And so I make the tool that I miss, and I use it to make something. Now I am in a kind of a vortex. I really have very little time, and I have consulting basically that takes a lot of my time, that actually pays the bill. Then I do what I like, that is coding and whatever. And then I have the YouTube. So there's not much time left for creativity.
Yeah. Well, I guess everything you're doing is creative, already, but it's obviously not, when people think of creativity, they think like someone throwing paint to the canvas, but obviously, problem solving and figuring out how, like, for example, when you make your videos, I think you're actually like really creative in terms of how you inspire. This is what I really want to do tutorials, and I think in terms of how you inspire people, like that's obviously like, the way you present stuff, I think is very creative. So I wouldn't say that. But what was I thinking? Do you pay attention to a lot of the actual like artistic stuff that's coming out of other people, out of the whole like ecosystem in general? Or does that inspire you, or out of curiosity, or do you mostly keep your heads down?
No, I try to follow everything that is happening in the community. Video is very interesting. I'm very, especially when I see an image that is generated with stable diffusion. Most of the time you see an image and you know exactly how it is made. Yeah. There's the time that you find an image and you ask yourself, would I be able to do that? Yeah. So that is maybe the time that I get creative and try basically to inverse engineer generation.
Yeah. And out of curiosity, like in the so there's obviously like lots of other stuff that kind of is happening. Then there's obviously lots of stuff that isn't happening in the ecosystem that maybe you think should be. But are there any things that you think in the overall ecosystem that like, there needs, like for example, I always wonder like if Comfy didn't exist, would we know we want Comfy? Maybe some people would, maybe we'd be talking about that, but we'd probably be like having extreme pain putting up with, some other, not so great tool. But is there any stuff in the ecosystem that you kind of like think if, that would be worthy of, someone throwing a lot of time at, or, do you have any thoughts on that? Yeah.
You mean things that are already there,
or not that things that aren't there that you don't have time for yourself, but you think that would be
okay.
so cool if someone else had time for that or someone else did that.
Dude, I have so many ideas, and so there are so many interesting projects. I don't know where to start from. We can start from saying that Comfy is getting a lot of interest, and it's still a kind of hacker's tool. It's not really meant for the general public, and the community around it is becoming huge. And I think that it is starting to become a problem because it's maybe not the foundations are not strong enough to sustain this amount of interest.
What do you think breaks, or what do you think is there? Do you think is there a tipping point, or you think what's your?
First of all, the UI part of ComfyUI it's complicated. It's based on light graph. I don't know how much it is customized. We are basically hacking our way through it. Every time we need something new, it's a patch, it's a hack. And there are no standards. Every developer does whatever they want. And there is beauty in that. But again, I don't think it is sustainable in the long run if you want to reach such a wide audience. And so I think that some things should change.
Yeah, I wonder, and maybe, I don't know if you think about this, but I wonder if it's kind of like, it's obviously really difficult for you, never recommend it to anyone almost, but in a way that's kind of like the bit of the beauty of it, that it's like this kind of struggle to be on this cutting edge of stuff, and then basically, going into it, you're going to have pain, but you kind of like hope that it's going to be worth it because you're going to like do something that you'd never be able to do otherwise. But then, what's happened right now is lots of stuff just ends up, Comfy is like a dead end for lots of interesting things. The only way to do it is through Comfy. But at the end of the day, most of the people, like, I think you always say that people are just coming in and like clicking workflows. And to me, that's like, like obviously lots of people want to run stuff locally, and that's fine, but it's like if they're coming into Comfy just clicking workflows, it's obviously like a failure of the ecosystem because they're putting up with all this pain, but all they're getting is just to click a button, I don't know.
This is probably controversial, but I think that Comfy should concentrate on the service side of things, solidify the API, become a very strong kind of middleware, and forget about the UI, the actual UI. Maybe open another project with people working on a better UI. On one side, there is this problem where basically companies are trying to build apps. So make an upscaler, make avatar building app, make a style transfer, whatever. So to do that kind of stuff, the Comfy is basically just a server tool. And then you build an interface on top of that. So a lot of money is invested in that. So the companies are not interested in a generic interface that anybody could use to make beautiful art. That is why I'm saying that probably we should concentrate on the server side of things. Yeah, and let others care about the UI.
I think, because I think you're definitely right that it basically is middleware, but middleware needs UX too, And I think part of the problem is that there's like end users who are using it. You're trying to use the middleware as UX, but actually as like a middleware person, which I guess is one way to speak about what you and me to an extent do. Is I know it's good to have a UX for middleware, and it's good to actually be able to kind of like have people build on top of it. So I wonder if it's more of the purpose of it. It's obviously not a creative tool, and it's obviously not it's not a consumer tool, definitely not. But it's obviously like something, and I think it's probably why it's hard to know what it actually is because it's probably I don't know, it's kind of like a window into the magical, possibilities of AI, and it's kind of like something you can go infinitely deep into, which is kind of I don't know, it's like what's the expression, like nerd bait, or is it? It's like one of these things where you can spend so much time just going into all like silly things, and it's like almost like a video game, and I think maybe that's like. If it's good at that, to be good at that is to be bad at being, a good consumer tool, but yeah.
Maybe we are still in a very initial and chaotic phase of this technology, and like a primordial broth, and where we have all the proteins in a pond, and we are trying to build life.
Yeah,
we are going to touch another issue there, that is when the big players will start, because they are already working, Adobe and Amazon and Google and Apple, when they will enter the market in a very strong and predominant way. If you add to that the regulations that we will also have from the government, I'm afraid that all this enthusiasm, all this tinkering, all this initial growth that we are in right now will be no more.
Yeah.
And that is my greatest fear.
Yeah. And do you mean, so you basically think that a lot of these factors will basically just depress excitement and enthusiasm, or disempower people? Yeah, or what? Yeah, like what specifically does that? You're kind of describing the dystopia here, I guess. Where it's like people are no longer, because what we're doing is ultimately we're trying to make AI useful for creative purposes.
I don't think that it's dystopia. It is history repeating. Because if you look what happened to the internet, where at the beginning it was chaos, and you had thousands of small communities and websites and forums and news groups and whatever. Now we have Google, we have Facebook, we buy stuff on Amazon, and that's pretty much it. They basically took everything. If you publish an independent blog, you are basically you're completely invisible.
Yeah, but why I say it's like a dystopia, because if you imagine, like, we're obviously in the creative space, and if the equivalent, imagine if there's an Amazon for creativity, where it's like, to me, or Google, it's like one-stop place. To me, I don't know, there's something inherently dystopian about that, because
Adobe, it is already releasing AI stuff, and basically the creative side of things will be probably their own domain. Autodesk, look at what is happening already, that some independent model trainers are giving up.
Yeah.
Because all the costs on one side, but also the regulations. So there are legal concerns. I don't remember in which country they had to put on hold the chatbots because the company is considered there's liability if the chatbot says something stupid, like they do often.
Yeah.
So they for fear of legal actions, they're putting everything on hold. I'm not saying that is wrong, but regulation will be a big factor in this thing. There's also the problem of misuse of the technology that, unfortunately, a small minority, it is going to destroy the fun for all of us. Yeah. And I had access to the backend of a very big online service, and I had access to people's generations. And I assure you that people are sick.
That doesn't surprise me. Based on what I know about people, I think.
I understand that it's a minority that makes a lot of noise, but there's a good 80%, and I'm generous, of generations that are unwatchable by a decent human being. Yeah.
And obviously, like, I would like to think, for example, if you go into the art sharing channel, there's obviously like a variance in quality. It's obviously not that, and obviously there's some of that kind of stuff, but it's mostly like not. And I wonder if do you think that's just human nature to like want to do the sickest thing possible, or do you think it's or do you think part of it is because I always thought this about Stable Diffusion subreddit, because I loved it. I think everyone did. There was like a point where everyone was like checking that every morning, but then it was obviously, the culture of it in a way devolved, and it became like more and more bad over time or something, and then eventually it's all like, if it's not a dancing girl with her chest exposed, it's like getting 2 upvotes. And I don't know, what part of that do you think is culture, and what part do you think is like human nature? Do you think that actually makes a difference, out of curiosity?
I think that the technology makes basically it's like a window on your mind, because you can express your mind very freely. You do not have any filter. You can ask whatever you want, and the AI will try to do it.
Yeah.
And there's not a third party. You do not have to ask someone. You are in your room and you can do whatever you want. And this is a window on the human mind. So I don't think that there is a problem in exploring even your darkest areas of your mind. The problem is what I've seen. It's really bad.
Yeah.
It's not just I don't know, suicidal or gore or I don't know. There are dark things but humanity always had to deal with those kind of things. So even in art. So I think that we should explore all our problems. Art can be a way to kill our demons. That is not the problem. The extremes are not the problem. The problem is when you go over the extreme, when really there are some images that I swear to you, I'm not going to look into a backend of an online service anymore, because there are images that I cannot unsee now. And unfortunately, Yeah, and I don't want to talk about it, but it is really the darkest areas, and I think that you can imagine what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Of especially pornography.
And out of curiosity, that's obviously a little bit. There's obviously a lot of dystopian stuff there, but let's pivot from that into the best aspects of human nature. I mean, like obviously, I don't think that would surprise anyone. I think you could say almost anything there, and I'd be like, of course it's happened. Of course it's some database. But obviously, that to me, there's obviously the dark. It's like when people are uninhibited, lots of inhibitions, prevent people from being bad. Then I think also lots prevent them from being like really good. Like for example, like people have an inherent kind of very tribal sense, which I think stops people from like wanting to express themselves too individually, because they want to fit in with the tribe. And I'd be curious about like, what do you think about the best of human nature that you've seen, even the best in yourself that you've seen from like your interaction with this space? Do you have any thoughts on that whole?
Personally, the best that I can do is to give everything that I code, that I do, that I discover to the community.
Yeah.
And I hope that doing so, people might be more prone to share on their own, maybe, I don't know, or because there's a good, again, 90% that are going to just get and not give. But maybe if you give the good example, maybe more will follow.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sure that the vast majority of people are doing good, and I'm seeing incredible images, incredible videos, and very inspiring. And so that is not the problem. Again, the problem is that 10% of bad apples will trigger the regulations.
Yeah.
And at that point, only Google, Apple, and Adobe will be able to work in that field.
We're on the utopias now. This dystopian is over. But
let's go utopian. First, we need a way to have good models, good checkpoints, and not having people rage because they cannot do boobs with them.
Yeah. You mean because they don't? You mean because they can't do boobs, or because they can? We can do them really well. You can give the schematics.
No, there's nothing wrong with boobs. We love boobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. We need. We don't need the checkpoints to be able to do the darkest side of things.
Yeah.
Let's do good boobs and stop there. But I'm seeing I'm in contact with the developer of the Proteus checkpoint. I don't know if you know about it.
Okay.
It's an incredibly good checkpoint, V3 especially. And it's trained on an incredibly amount of images. And I believe that the next version will be for personal use only, with a license that is not clear yet. I try to ask, but it's not clear yet. Anyway, let's start with the good checkpoints that we actually can use, so we do not trigger the regulations.
Yeah. Do you not think though that it's actually the like, say for example, like child porn, which is obviously something that is very, like, if you look at like Civet or somewhere, you can see lots of like hints at that and lots of checkpoints. And obviously that's like possible. And obviously people like, that's probably what will bring into regulation. That's when you imagine someone in Congress, that's what they're going to be talking about. They'll probably like have found, billions of images in someone's computer. But the thing is, I keep on wondering is if that has to be possible, for it to actually, because it's say if it knows what a child is, it also knows what a naked body is. Does it have to be able to do to be able to do really bad stuff that most people would disagree with, to be able to actually be able to do everything? And is the actual problem that we need to solve in a way is actually more in culture and actually people's idea of what to do with the models? Because it's like, I don't know if you spend much time, I always think it's these weird corners of Reddit to like, not they don't have that kind of stuff there, but there's all these people who are just into weird stuff, and I'm always really like curious why they're into it. A lot of it is just that people have like, they kind of like lack a purpose in their life, and they end up just like doing, going down some weird fandom thing, and and you find the whole thing of all people like doing, I don't know what it is, but it's also like, is it like human intelligence, like human imagination has to be able to imagine everything, and then you kind of want to like help people so that they imagine good things or build the culture and everything so that people like imagine good things, or like, because you can't, I don't know, to me it feels weird it's like a weird vector which to constrain things or something,
If you with this technology, if you could do anything, you are not going to do flowers. You are going to do things that you couldn't do before. Yeah. And also you have to remember that people that put regulations on this stuff usually don't understand a thing about about the technology, and so they just see child porn, close everything. So I think to answer your question, I think that it's just human nature to explore the darkest areas. It is, wow, we are going deep.
No, we're supposed to be talking about utopias now, by the way. I think you're the one who you brought it here.
The discussion.
I wanted you to talk about, beautiful future.
No, I think that we should be able to, the utopia is being able to explore our darkest sides, but you should not linger into them. You should try to be happy, not sad. And I don't think that those things are going to make you happy. In an utopia, people would limit themselves.
Yeah.
Would know what is better. So in this utopia, maybe we would have these models that are not able to do child porn. I don't know.
Well, in theory, I guess that's like the mid-journey kind of idea, where basically like having like an LLM on top of it is basically like they're obviously like trying to, for example, like now they allow tasteful nudity, but there's also, that obviously requires centralization, and obviously in every mid-journey image.
That is another kind of worms, because tasteful nudity for I don't know, for an European might be not the same of another country, another culture. We have a different kind of moralities, and I do not want to put myself in the position of saying that. For example, face models. That I work a lot with face models, and I know that they will be used for bad things, for face swapping people in situation that they wouldn't like. That is a given, and that is also the reason I talked to an engineer at Tencent. There are ethical and legal concerns about releasing open source face models.
Yeah.
The technology would be there, but we are holding back on that.
Yeah. But like you've shared PulID the other day. You implemented that, and that was just incredibly good, and also doing people in context. And do you think it's just like it feels really like someone says, "Oh, we're not releasing this for ethical reasons," then like 2 weeks later, someone else just releases the same thing. And is it kind of like I wonder if all of it is this tide of progress that's happening, and it feels a little bit unstoppable, and then it's a question of, oh, we'll obviously be able to make Matteo, just in this video, I'll be able to do a perfect deepfake of you saying anything that would look really believable, that will sound like you, and even be spoken in your kind of language. And it's like, all that stuff is going to be possible like 2 years from now. That's like a given. And then it's a question of, yes, I know, it's like, so what? And that's me. And then I don't know what that so what is. Maybe it could be like crazy regulation. It could just be a mix of regulation and culture. It could be, I don't know, what happens to stop, the whole world, just deepfaking you and getting on streams. And I don't know. It's a very tricky one.
Yeah, basically, I was saying that I cannot think that developing these tools, making them available to everybody, I cannot think that they will be used for bad. I give that they will be used for good reasons, for good things.
Yeah.
And regarding technologies, these kind of technologies coming out every day, it is also the reason why I often hold back implementing a new technology. I think at the end, the simplest technology wins, even if it's not the best. Let's say that they release SD4 and it can do like face swap. It is integrated. It is easy to do, and it's not perfect, but it works.
Yeah.
At that point, that is the winning technology.
And do you think, again, with that scenario of like the best technology wins, I wonder if it's actually
the simplest technology.
The simplest. But I think simplicity, like say for example, like I'm not trying to think of a good example, but like a website, where a website is obviously where you actually know what's going on behind the scenes. It's incredibly complex, but it's all, the infrastructure there is so well baked that you don't realize, oh, this is going to the TCP thing, this goes to the browser, this goes to a server. And like, I wonder if there's a part of that where is it actually just like there's embedded simplicity in the infrastructure that gets built, that often means that,
the first thing that the first requirement that I'm asked when companies want like a workflow developed for them is speed. They want it fast.
Yeah.
Complexity, it is not friend of fast.
Yeah.
Usually. Again, simplicity wins in this case. If I can do a workflow that takes like 1 minute to have a 100% face swap, and nobody would use it in the industry because if it takes more than 5 seconds, the people won't use it.
Yeah.
They are happy to use like 4-step or 2-step lightning models, even if they are often not enough to catch all the details.
And my final question for you is, I've been wanting to end on a high note. So if you imagine, and this is maybe, I've just came up with this question right there as you were speaking, so it might be a hard to answer a bullshit question. But if you imagine yourself, you're in your 80s, whatever, when you're, lay down your coding gloves and put away your clicky keyboard, and you're basically like thinking back on like the kind of stuff you did around this time. Like what like I don't know, like what would you like to feel then? Like what would you like to think about? Part of something that's bigger. You're obviously contributing a lot, but it's part of something that's bigger than yourself. There's obviously all these people who are doing all these other things. But how would you like to feel about the whole thing? What would you like to think about it? Or that might be a very hard question to answer, so you can tell me to shut up if it is. But if you want to try, yeah.
So I try not to look that far in the future, man. Let's just live in the moment. Let's try to do our best today. Let's not think about the depressing stuff that we talked about. What I would like, to happen is that we don't see this centralization of the technology. That's all. If it would be very sad if all the AI I could do when I'm 80 is through a Google phone, or whatever will be at the time. And that would be very sad. It means that all that I'm doing today is completely wasted.
That's what I think about as well. And I think there's definitely a time when you're going to be older and you'll be interacting with stuff, and then there's this kind of really depressing version of it, where you talk to the AI thing and you ask it to do something, you're like, oh, make me this video of this kind of thing, and it's just like, sorry, we can't do that because blah 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 blah, and you're just like, oh, now I'm going to die. But cool. Thank you so much. And I'm going to end the recording now. Yeah.